Shot in front of a live audience at Margarita Republic, it's Shots from the Bench. And now your hosts, Bob Wiltman and Bob Murphy.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another session of Shots from the Bench. It's only sports talk, and of course, all opinions are both fabulous and flawed. I'm Bob Wiltman. My partner is Bob Murphy, and Greg Malinzuk's behind the scenes, running the cameras and keeping the sanity, as always. We are here at Margarita Republic in the beautiful Spanish Springs section of the Villages. The Margarita Republic, where the food, fun, and fellowship are always seated first. We're here every Sunday from 2 to 3, so come in, on, over, and up. If you have to, come join us and check us out on YouTube. But we'd love to have you here. We're always throwing out some trivia questions to the crowd, and a lot of interesting points are always brought up. Like I said, we're here every Sunday from 2 to 3. And, of course, we are the only sports talk show in the Villages. And that being said, Bob, it's an open week, so it's basically open season on whatever we want to talk about. Let's get right to the point on the Super Bowl.
I thought you were going to talk about wiffle ball.
We're right in the middle of that big week where everybody gets sick of the hype. So, but let's just talk about where we are and where we think it's going to go. Both of our choices, all of our choices, are gone. Your choices and my choices out the window.
You had to remind me.
Hey, I'm reminding myself.
Oh, my God.
And all the people that were calling me to see what my pick was, they've all dumped it. It's not going to happen.
What was your final pick there?
My final pick was New England and Seattle.
Yeah.
Kiss it goodbye.
And I had the Cardinals and Cincinnati.
Kiss it goodbye.
Kiss it goodbye.
So, based on what we know right now, what are you thinking?
We haven't been doing so good.
You know what? It's 50-50 now. That's the good news for us. 50-50. We're going to be okay.
Well, let's take a look at this game. Obviously, Carolina's the favorite.
Absolutely, they should be.
As the way I look at it, that's a good thing. I think 6-point favorite, 6 to 7, depending on who you look at. Favorite. They have more balance, I think, than Denver does. I mean, Denver has a great, great defense.
Yes, they do.
I mean, that's what's carried them.
No question.
Through all the quarterback controversy and all the instability without Peyton Manning and with him and without him and and bad play by him. They still made it.
They still made it, which a good defense, as the Ravens will tell you, a good defense will make up for some offensive insufficiencies, and they're a legitimate team. They're a legitimate chance to win the thing. I just don't think that. I think Carolina, I've given them short shrift all year and not given them any respect. I know that's the big word, but I've seen enough of them now. I've just put the kiss of death on them. I think they're going to win by 2 or 3 touchdowns.
Well, the thing with them is they're more balanced. Their defense is right up there with Denver's
no
defense.
question. That's right.
And then you look
Very
at the
underrated.
offenses, it's not close. I mean, Carolina's offense, the Panthers, with Cam Newton running the show.
But they've never been, like I said, one game on a dance floor where they've never been there. So, I mean,
anything
but you're right.
Happen.
Well, you're right. As I've already tipped off my pick, but I think that it's going to be pretty one-sided, and I think Carolina's going to beat them.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Okay.
I don't see, unless there's some mistake here and there to keep Denver in the game. I don't think that's going to happen. So we'll see if we're going to be eating our words.
Well, I haven't been right yet, so I'm pitching
a
perfect game. You don't want to put the jinx on me, but I'm sure they're not quaking in their boots in Carolina, the fact that I'm picking them to win big in the Super Bowl.
Carolina's defense is led by probably the best linebacker in the NFL, Luke.
Keichel?
Is that how you say it?
I don't know.
I looked at his name and I can't pronounce it. I'm glad you said it.
He's one heck of a player. I know that.
He missed 3 games, and he was still the best linebacker in the NFL.
Yeah.
He returned 2 touchdowns in the playoffs, 2 interceptions for touchdowns in the playoffs. And also
that's making big plays when it counts.
Another player on their defense that really gets he had some press recently, but he's also a great player is Josh Norman.
Yes, he is. He
had that altercation with.
He's got a little smudge on him there, but there's no getting around the fact that. And what I really like is even after that big deal, he hasn't shot his mouth off and he's just kind of shut up and played good football since then. So good. I mean, that's what you should do.
I think the balance on Carolina compared to Denver is the thing, and also the X factor, Cam Newton. He is the man. He is the best player on the field, for sure.
This year has been.
He's the best player on the field.
Anybody that had any second thoughts or doubts about him,
Right.
if they're not erased yet, you got something wrong with it.
I've underestimated him too much this year. I've looked the other way too many times. I'm not going
me
to do
too.
it this time.
Hey, he burned me, but tell you what, he is a playmaker.
On the Carolina side of the coin, one little side story is Michael Oher. Was in the movie the story about him.
Yes.
Was in The Blind Side.
Blind
the movie
Side.
The Blind
Yeah,
Side.
Michael Oher. That's right.
And this is actually his second Super Bowl since
He was with the Ravens, right?
Ravens
Yeah,
in
that's
2012.
Right. Yeah.
They won the thing, and now his family. It's a really nice story. His family that adopted him while he was in high school.
Right.
Is here this all Super Bowl week with him, and they're on. A lot of times he said he didn't like the idea that he was involved in that movie, or that movie was about him, because he felt it was taken away from his play on the field.
Yeah.
And not, it was about some other story besides the way he was, actually performing. So I can understand that to a point.
Sure. Well, but the good news for him is he's obviously a solid enough football player. If he's in the starting line for 2 Super Bowl teams, I'd have to say that you got to be semi productive and proficient at your job. And I tell you what I like also is he hasn't made himself a sideshow about it. He downplays it. And he just lets his plate do the talking.
That's what he wants it to be about, and I can give him credit for that.
Love it.
So that's what we're looking at with the Super Bowl. Of course, it's not for another week and a half here, or 2. Is it 2 weeks from today, or next week?
It's next week, right?
Now,
yeah. Like I said,
Our
you
last
can only
show
take
was-
so much of that hype.
Just a note after listening to your commentary, I put all my money on Denver.
Our producer
Greg is just
yes.
he's not a dumb man, and he saw who we were going for, so
We'll be
everything
talking to
he
you
owns
later.
is on the Broncos. That doesn't surprise me.
I just wanted to let you know also, Las Vegas has a lot of bets on this game. I mean, you can get into all kinds of things they have on this game. Well, they even bet on the coin flip. Okay, they do.
Well, that's
bet on
because
the
they
coin
got
flip.
there's guys that'll bet on that.
They'll
There's-
bet on things like the first scoring play. Okay, first scoring play in the game. They'll bet on the first person to score a touchdown. Who's going to be that first person? Bet whoever you want to bet.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to bet the offensive
I
lineman,
wonder how
if
they
you wanna
pay that
bet
off.
him,
though.
that'd be the highest odds.
Do they run odds out on that?
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
wow. How about that?
Who's going to be the MVP? All right. Okay, they also have one. If Denver wins, here's another one. If Denver wins, will Peyton Manning ride into the sunset at his press conference and say, this is it? Okay?
He may change his mind.
Here's another one. Here's another one, and maybe I can throw this out to the crowd here, too.
All right.
Will Cam Newton break the Super Bowl record of the most rushing yards by a quarterback? And who was that guy that he'd be breaking?
Oh, that's a good.
And how many yards was it?
We throw that out to the folks at the bar. Does anybody think that Cam Newton's going to be the leading rusher? And if he does, who's
For a quarterback.
For a quarterback, we want to know
NFL history.
who holds the
holds the
NFL
record.
rushing record. I don't even know that one. That's a good one.
Yep.
So
we'll throw that out
We'll
there
throw
for
that
later.
out. Sure. Think about that when we call for
They'll
answers.
look up on their phones and tell
That's
us.
right. We don't want to see any cell phones going into that one. That's for sure. But hey, that's a really interesting. That's a tidbit that I like.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, there's many more that Las Vegas gets into, but I just thought I'd throw those out too.
But that's like I said, that's what we're going for the Super Bowl. So that's pretty exciting. So I guarantee everybody is rushing to their bookies now, betting against us.
What kind of score are you looking at, you think?
I'm looking at Carolina. The way I'm looking at it, it's going to be I'm going to say 31-20. How's that?
You know what? I had 31 in my mind. I did.
There you go. We'll go for it.
31. I'm going to say 17, but
Okay.
we're about the same.
Well,
It's the same thing.
I think that's.
And watch us come back here with egg on our face. and say,
back
Peyton
and-
Manning riding into the sunset.
Right into the
Sunset.
sunset, and then he'll change his mind and come back like Brett Favre. He'll come back and say, "That's it. I'm done. I'm not playing anymore." Whoop! That much money?
Yeah.
Ooh, maybe I will.
I'm kind of rooting for him. I don't always pick. I don't pick who I want to win. It's going to pick who I think's going to win.
Well, I think that's perfectly legitimate. There's nothing wrong with that. I have a lot of respect for Peyton Manning, but I really think Carolina has put together the type of year where I think they deserved the championship. And
Yeah.
Obviously
From
they
the
don't
very
play
beginning,
them,
from
but,
the very
but
beginning,
they've
they
been
were the
solid.
best team.
They'd be undefeated, except they didn't really care that they stubbed their toe in week
Right.
14 or 15. There, they were just. But that's how solid and good that team's been week in and week out. Now, could change.
Now you could see if Peyton Manning did win this, that he, at this press conference could announce that. What a great time to do it, actually.
He could announce it, but I also think he's a big enough competitor that he'd want to come back
He
and try
might.
it again. So yeah, but you're right. Hard to tell exactly how that's going to play out. But what if it gets down to the? I can't see it getting down to the kickers. But what if it gets down to the kickers?
Yeah.
I think both kickers are.
I always hate that.
But they're both exceptionally good,
Yeah.
and so I hope it doesn't get down to that. But
No, I hope it doesn't get down to that either.
but the running games are both not non-existent, but not that
No,
exciting.
they're
So
decent. Yeah, they make it happen a little bit.
but that's like I said, that's our analysis on the Super Bowl. And I'll tell you what, we've got so much more we're going to talk about. I know Bob's got some interesting things as we get it. We're going to be getting into the second quarter in a couple seconds, but he's got some interesting information on the Australian Open, where they had just a phenomenal upset in the finals of the ladies, and we'll be covering that. But for right now, we're going to be running down the clock here on quarter one. We'll be back with the second quarter of Shots from the Bench right after this. Okay, we're back with the second quarter of Shots from the Bench here at the Margarita Republic in the beautiful Spanish Springs section of the Villages. Margarita Republic, where the food, fellowship, and fun is always seated first. And partner, I know with your extensive tennis background and some of the wonderful successes you've had with tennis, you had to find this Australian Open in tennis to be especially not only confounding but rewarding because of their level of play.
Absolutely. In the women's side, there was a major upset. Well, I don't know if it was a major upset. Well, I guess every time you beat
If you
Serena,
beat
it's a major,
Serena, I think that's major
upset.
because I think she's
But,
that much better than everybody.
Angelique Kerber of Germany, 28-year-old, played the match of her life, actually. She played unbelievable. She was ranked number 7 in the world.
Yeah, she was seeded seventh or sixth. I can't remember.
She was seeded seventh.
Seventh.
Yeah.
She was the seventh seed,
And,
so it's not like she came out of nowhere.
No.
But
she's been around for a while, 10 years.
It's a long time.
It's a long time to finally win your first major.
And good
Some
for her.
people blossom later
Isn't
in
that
their
great,
careers.
though? I mean, what a great story. You work that hard.
But
and
she's a nice girl, always well respected on the tour. Everyone has nothing but nice things to say about her. And when Serena lost to her, it was a long embrace at the
Big
net.
embrace,
And,
yeah,
and
you
Kerber
could tell
was
she
crying,
she
and
genuinely-
she just really was so happy for her.
Serena genuinely embraced
You know.
her,
Yep.
graciously accepted defeat on that.
Yeah, it was 6-4, 3-6, 6-4 in the final.
They were all bad. The points were great.
Yep.
They were long. They were
And,
excellent.
So Serena battled back in the second set, but Kerber had more. They said, I was watching some commentary on the match. It just seemed like normally Serena picks the right spots to come in or picks the right spots to hit cross court, and she kept opening up the court to Kerber one way or the other, and Kerber was dead on.
Kerber,
solid.
we just saw a little bit of the replay
Yeah.
here. Kerber was, if she can play at that level, well,
Very
you can see
poised,
why
very
why
together.
she'd be in the top 8 seeds because
Yep.
she looked like a world-class player playing. And after 33 or 34
Yep.
majors that she played in without a championship,
Now
hey, you got to feel good about that story.
There had to be some pressure on Serena. She says
Oh.
no, but she's one match away from tying Steffi Graf for second all-time.
Second all-time, yeah.
In the majors.
And who did
total
you
number
say
of
was
majors.
first? You told me, and
I believe it was.
Margaret
Margaret
Court.
Yeah.
So Margaret Court still holds court on
She
that.
has-
Excuse the
She,
pun.
it's a perfect name for that, by the way. She has 24, Graf 22, Serena 21. at this present time. So it's a long year. I'm sure she'll get another one or two or three.
Oh,
I think she'll probably
I think
tie court or go ahead.
Yeah, oh my gosh, there's no question.
Barring injury, I hope she doesn't get hurt or something like that.
Well, you
I'd like to
hope
see her
not,
do it.
or you hope she just stays involved in it, because I know she's got perfumes and clothing lines.
Well,
and
there was a
else.
time a few years ago that it seemed as though Venus and Serena were getting more involved in their marketing of their products.
Well,
than
they did. I think they had a little lull. I
had
think
a little bit of a lull.
right?
Maybe she could have won one or two more majors in there.
Absolutely, she could have.
You know?
I agree with
she
that.
still won one that year or so, but maybe she
But
could have
she's
won
used
more.
to using winning 2 or 3. So
Sure.
yeah, holy mackerel.
There was a time when Venus was the one that trained harder than her, and Serena didn't like the run, didn't want to train, but then she had different coaches that pushed her and got her into better shape. Over on the men's side, no surprise here.
2 top men players
Right.
made it
Number
to the
one
finals.
against number 2, Djokovic, number 1, Andy Murray, number 2. And Novak Djokovic won his 6th Australian Open, 11th major all time.
Am I the only guy that I really like him? I mean, I just think he's fun. He's
hilarious.
He's hilarious. He's in shape. He makes phenomenal shots.
Yeah.
He cares. It matters.
He's a nice
it
guy.
matters to him. But yeah, he's a very nice guy.
And he's a heart. Just I was watching this match, and actually the match went 6-1, 7-5, 7-6 over Murray, and in that second set, it was tied 5-all and deuce, and there was a 36-shot rally. And they just seemed to take all the gas out of Murray.
That's pounding the ball a lot. 36 hits.
No matter what Murray did, Djokovic just outlasted him. I mean, during the match, actually, Murray had 40 winners to 31 for Djokovic. So that wasn't the reason. Winners aren't the reason you win matches. It's being unforced errors. How can you outlast someone without making a mistake?
That's right.
That's going to win tennis matches, and that's the way Djokovic wins with the power and the consistency. And that's what he did in this victory. So hats off to him.
Yes.
And where does Djokovic now stand in history? I got that right here, by the way. He's 28 years old.
He's got 5 more years of good competitive
Yep.
tennis ahead of him, so that he can
5 or
run the
6 more
table.
years. Yep.
He is absolutely in position to set the records if he stays healthy.
Federer has 17 major, leads the pack. Pete Sampras and Rafael Nadal are tied at 14.
And it's interesting, by the way, you might bring up Nadal, because I've always liked Nadal as a competitor too, but I'm afraid his body's breaking down on him a little bit.
His style of play,
Yeah.
with his tremendous torque and twistingness of his serve and his ground strokes, just he can't maintain that.
Well, he's
kind
a
of
great
pace
clay
and level.
court player, but
Right.
yeah, I mean, that just grinds you. I mean, the points
Right.
just last so long. I mean, I wonder if he's going to be able to
I'd like
hold
to
up.
see him continue, but that's what it looks like is going on with him.
Yeah.
And of course, Roy Emerson is in third with 12 majors, and then Djokovic's at 11, tied with Borg and Laver. So at 28 years old, tied with Borg and Laver at 11, shooting for Federer. Now, who knows whether Federer will get another opportunity.
He's trying, and he's good enough. He might pull one more off, but he's not going to,
I mean, sometimes you get things happen. Djokovic gets upset by somebody.
Oh, sure. Well, that's what he needs.
He doesn't show up at the tournament.
Or Federer plays out of his mind.
Yeah,
which he can do that too.
Djokovic might have the flu or something, or.
But
and all of a sudden, okay, Nadal's not playing. Then it's Murray and Federer. Well,
anything can happen.
Even Steven
just like watching Serena lose to Kerber. I mean, it happened.
Right.
If you're Kerber outplayed her. Serena by far the best women's player I've seen, and she got outplayed. That happens.
Borg, who's one of the two that's tied. Laver and Borg are tied with Djokovic right now for majors. Back in the 70s, he used to turn down going to the Australian Open and play it, because he used to make this comment. He said, "I'm not going to go play the Australian Open unless I win the U.S. Open," because in his mind,
he
wasn't thinking of total titles. He was thinking of how many slams he could try to win.
That's exactly right. Well,
so when he didn't win the U.S. Open, he just bagged it for the
that's
rest
the
of
end
the
of
year
that
until the
slam.
spring.
That slam's done. Yeah, that's right.
And how many would he have won? He's at 11. He could be up there with Federer or more.
Oh, there's lots of guys like that, but you're exactly right. And
Right.
You're right. I don't think they pay attention to that when
Right.
it's not that important. Just like Serena, I think somebody asked her about was she nervous in this
Right.
match because of the? She said, "No, I was trying to play as well as I could.
Right.
It just didn't happen."
And I got another trivia question for the crowd here.
Another trivia question
Involving tennis now.
Okay,
Involving
tennis trivia for all you tennis
all right, now,
players.
I know you're all tennis players out there. The Australian Open was a grass tournament up until 1988 when it became a hard court tournament.
I remember that.
Okay. Only one player in the history, only one player won it on the grass and the hard courts. And so that's the question.
Who was that player? And to make this, how this was, I actually got this right when we were off camera, and I took a really wild stab at it. So you got to think about the big names in the late '80s and see if you can come up with them. We're going to come back. You're wrong. You're just naming You're just naming big stars. You're not even close. How's that? But. We will, think
there
about
is
that.
Somebody,
we'll be back. There is somebody, but I like that. I like that question a lot. But just getting back to, we talk about the majors, and I know how important it is these guys, but I don't know how physically. I mean, just like Tiger Woods, obviously he crashed and burned. Everybody thought he was going to break Nicklaus's. Djokovic looks like a lock to break Federer's.
Yeah. Well,
but he's got to stay healthy. And he plays.
Yeah.
He plays hard, but he's a specimen. The guy's.
Well, he's got 11 right now.
Yeah.
Okay, we got the French. He's probably not the favorite in France.
No, he won't be. He won't be the favorite.
Although he could pull one off.
Nadal will be actually the favorite in the French.
You look at Wimbledon. Definitely.
He'll be the favorite.
U.S. Open, definitely.
He'll be the favorite.
So there's 2 right there. He's up to 13.
No question.
Okay. Now Federer always has a pretty good Wimbledon too. So I believe he lost and he beat Federer in the final last year.
Yes.
In 5 sets. So that's a good
challenge.
to him.
Wimbledon's a very good court.
Right.
It's a good surface for Federer. Yeah.
So and then you go into next year. So I think you're right. I think Djokovic has a good shot.
By the time he's 30, I'll bet he has 13 or 14. And
of course, my favorite player is Federer, and I always want him to get at least one more major.
He's classy, and I think he's got one more in him, but it's going to have to. The stars are going to have
to break.
Stars are going to have to align because he's like I said, the way Djokovic is playing, and Murray was always like a hit and miss until a couple years ago, and now he's right up there in
he's
and
playing
out
well. He's
tournament.
He's in position
he's
to have a really good Wimbledon this year
second seed. Yeah, he's deserved second seed behind Djokovic. Yeah. So that's. So
it's going to be a good year in tennis, I believe.
But like I said, just getting back to just real briefly, Kerber and Williams. I still watch Serena play, and when Serena's at her top, there's still nobody can compete with her day in and day out. Now it's nice to see somebody beat her once in a while, but I'm kind of rooting for her. I hope she doesn't go, and just totally abandon the game and go into her clothing line or something.
No, she's not going to do it. I think she's going for history.
She's such an athlete, and she's good.
Yeah, I think she definitely has 3 more majors or more in her.
And you know what I really like about her and both Venus now, and maybe this was not nice of me to say this, but it used to bother the heck of me, and it's not their fault, but the TV would always show her dad, and he was always...
Mr. Williams.
They'd always interview him, and it never sounded real good to me. I mean, he wasn't a bad guy, but I just thought maybe I wouldn't be able to know what to say in that situation, but I always found him to be a tad demeaning to the opponents, and if they would have trained harder, I just thought, wow.
He was a father coach, of course.
Sure, a driven coach.
He instilled in them a toughness to fight for everything that you get.
Yeah, and I guess you know what? In retrospect, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think he always evaluated their opponents in the same way and didn't give them credit for working quite as hard as he did. But but that's here and there. But that's just how we're going to wrap it up. Now we are going to the locker room, and we are at halftime here. It's Spots from the Bench. So we will be back with the third quarter after Greg gives us some a talking to about our clock management skills, which haven't been too great, but we will be back, and we're going to have some more trivia. We're going to do a little NBA and talk about Kenny Sailors passing away. Now, if anybody knows who Kenny Sailors is, we'll get you involved in that discussion. But
Another trivia question.
That's right. We'll be back with the third quarter right after this. We're back. Third quarter of Shots from the Bench here at Margarita Republic in the Spanish Springs section of the Villages. And before we get into our NBA to start the third quarter, let's all have a very, very brief moment of silence for Kenny Sailors. Kenny Sailors passed away a couple days ago. Kenny Sailors reinvented the game of basketball without trying, because Kenny Sailors invented the jump shot. And here's another trivia question for you.
I'll always remember.
Kenny Sailors was on the national championship NCAA team in basketball in 1943. If anybody knows who he played for, you deserve some kind of a gift. We'll throw that out. But he went to the service like any good athlete back then did. Came back and finished 2 years at college. They didn't win the championships, but he was All-American. And 95 years old. And Kenny Sailors was famous for what?
The jump shot.
The jump shot. And now that's all you see.
What they had before was
they had
set
the running
shot.
jump. Well, the set shot.
The set shot.
And Cousy himself never shot a jump shot. But Kenny Sailor back in 43 led a college team. And I'm going to see if anybody remembers who won the national college championship in 1943. I guarantee you they're not winning it these days. But it was the national championship in 43. They're stumped. We'll get back to them on that while they're thinking about that tennis answer we have for you too. But how about an NBA before we get to the trivia answers? How about an NBA rundown for us, Bob?
Sure. Well, interesting week this past week. We had a couple of big games. Earlier in the week, I think it was Monday night, the Warriors played the Spurs in a number 1 versus number 2 matchup in the Western Conference.
Where was that game, do you know?
I believe that was in. I don't know.
I don't know either. I saw the result.
I think it was in San Antonio.
You'd guess it would be in San Fran, but I don't know that for a fact.
Anyway, the number 1, the Spurs were at the time, I don't know, 38-6 or something like that. And they were 42-4 or something like that. So it was a great matchup. But the only player missing from the Spurs was Tim Duncan.
Okay.
And they put in David West filled in at center, and that wasn't a problem because he's a good player in his own right.
Duncan sits out a lot.
They totally dominated to him and took it to him.
Well,
it was a total blowout from the beginning to the end. It was not even close. All that whole game. And they were faster, they were better shooters, better rebounding. They took it to them, and it really opened up a lot of eyes as to. I'm sure Popovich is having a talk with his team.
Well, they're going to have to take a different direction on how to compete against them, because it looks like they're going to be the ones that play for the final and to get into the finals.
Right.
Yeah. And
then another interesting game was last night. Again, the Spurs rather had another test last night. They after getting beaten up by the Warriors.
Who'd they play last night?
They played the Cavs.
Oh, geez.
Last night.
Oh, boy.
And they got beat up again.
I was going to say that sounds like.
And it was 117-103.
No, was Duncan missing that game too? I don't know. I don't know. I think
he was.
I do know that was in Cleveland. That game. Yeah.
Right. That was in Cleveland, and But the Cavs really played well, took it to them, very aggressive. So that's two losses for the Spurs, which kind of
2 in a row
pushes them down a little bit in the power rankings.
Yeah.
Not far, of course, but down into the 3rd spot, maybe the 4th spot.
But they'll still be the favorites to play the Warriors for the right to go to the NBA championship. I mean, they're going to be the 2nd seed, it looks like.
Well, yeah, in the West.
Yeah, you figure in the West. Yeah.
Now, OKC is right knocking on their door too. So
you're
nice,
right. I'm not giving. I'm forgetting about the Thunder. Frankly, I shouldn't do that.
OKC is in the 3rd spot in the West, and now the Clippers are 31-16. Now that's an interesting story. What's going on with Blake Griffin. How about
Blake Griffin? That's
well, Blake Griffin, has been out with a leg injury, but then he did. He was a bad boy. He got into a fight with the equipment manager for the team, and broke his wrist or arm or whatever it was. Broke something.
I think he broke his hand. Yeah.
And he's out for like 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks.
Throwing a punch.
Right.
I have a feeling his team would have rather the equipment manager broke his hand.
Now they've been playing without him. they've been playing without him for a while now because of his leg injury, and they're holding down the fourth spot.
Yeah, they're still winning. They're winning some games.
And they need to hang on to that fourth spot. That's where they want to be. No worse than that.
No worse than that.
You know, and so you got Memphis about 4 games behind them. We'll see, but they need to maintain and stay if they want any shot at the playoffs. And a lot of people are saying, should they trade Blake Griffin? Should they trade Blake Griffin?
Yeah.
Is he the right mix? Is that the way a champion's supposed to be acting? On a team. Anything can happen in particular instance. You know that, but I don't think trading him is the. Who are you going to get for him? First of all, are you going to change? You're a top 4 team in the West, and you're going to change the composition of your team. And I've even seen people say, well, trade Chris Paul and bring someone else in for him, too. Now's not the time to panic.
Well, you're going to trade a guy with a broken hand, too. I mean, you're not going to get much out of him this year.
Yeah. So that's crazy.
Yeah.
All these things start to happen. People pile on when just let the thing cool over, I think, then Blake Griffin will get his act together, hopefully, with them. So that's what's going on in the Western Conference.
All right.
Those are your top 4 teams, the Warriors, the Spurs, OKC, and the Clippers. And he's out a couple of months with that injury. And the Warriors, actually, last night, were playing the worst team in the NBA. Now, here's how you never figure sports, right? They're playing the 76ers.
76ers.
And the game is tied at 105 with like 1 second to go. And they hit a 3 from the corner to win the game with no time.
You're talking about the Warriors.
Warriors
won. There you go. Well, that can happen. That can happen.
Sometimes you overlook teams.
Sure you do.
But Philly.
You don't think guys overlook the 76ers? Yeah. I think they probably do.
Philly has actually played some better ball lately. Not overwhelming, but.
But are they being overlooked and just winning a few?
They brought in this point guard a few weeks ago in a trade, Ish Smith, and he's played really well. They moved Jahlil Okafor, the number 2 pick in the draft, onto the bench, and now their second unit is gelling, which it never gelled before. And so, in the front, and Robert Covington, a powered forward who had been out, hadn't been playing, is now playing. And so they're instead of losing all their games, they're only losing, they're winning 2 and losing 5.
All right, well, hey, that's an improvement for them. There's no question about it.
So that's they're scaring some teams all of a sudden, with that lineup change. So again in the Eastern Conference, Toronto has won 11 in a row.
I watched them on TV. They look really good to me.
Yep.
Cleveland's going to have to keep their eye on them.
Absolutely the best backcourt in the Eastern, Conference.
Very
between
good.
Lowry and DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah.
And that's the strength of their team, and they're showing it. They're only 2 games behind Cleveland right now.
Yeah.
2 games behind them in the standings. So they're going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Chicago's
number 3, Atlanta, Boston, Miami, Indiana, Detroit rounds that out. But so that's what's going on in the NBA. And
sweet.
Let's see what happens with all that. And now they did something the other day. They did what they call a mid-season redraft. Like if they were to do the draft over again, who would the teams pick?
Why would they do that?
Well, they just do it because they want to see where your picks lined up.
Oh, okay.
How they turned out.
All right.
Number 1 pick was Karl Anthony Towns, right?
Okay.
And Minnesota took him. They pretty much would stay with that.
Okay.
Okay. The sports writers are making these.
Oh, I understand. Yeah.
And so the second pick was Jahlil Okafor, and now there's a lot of people saying. Actually, I think the Lakers had the next pick, and it was Russell. And they're saying they would have taken Porzingis to the Knicks as a number 2 pick.
Well,
that's about the only one that I can see that they would switch is Porzingis for Russell, the point guard. And so they like to do these as little games to play.
Oh, sure.
Play with people's heads. In 5 years from now or 4 years from now, they could be dead wrong on that because that player that they said isn't making it just took him a little longer to make it.
Yeah, it's hindsight. Yeah, but I understand. I understand that. But
sure.
But I'll tell you what. Well, I know we're going to go back to the trivia. Let's see if the guys at the table have figured anything out. We've got a couple things standing out. I want to know who Kenny Sailor is, the guy who just passed away, who invented the jump shot. What team did he play for in 1943 that won the NCAA championship? Anybody knows that answer? Yell it out. And I don't want anybody grabbing their cell phones. He played for Wyoming. So when you think of big basketball powers, remember the Wyoming. Whoever they are, what are they, Cowboys? They won the NCAA championship in 1943 with Kenny Sailors making jump shots. Now, Bob's question, the guy that won on both the hard courts, or the grass courts and the hard courts.
At the Australian
Open. And this guy was, I believe, number one in the world.
He was number one in the world.
Come on, guys, who is it?
Who is it?
Well,
he was number one in the world.
His first name rhymes with cats.
Or hats.
Boy, oh boy, I told you, this is what happens.
He's from a cold climate.
How fast they forget these guys.
All right, we want us to tell you.
Well, okay, they've had their chance. It's time to blow it, Bob. Who is it?
It was Mats Wilander.
Mats Wilander was the number one tennis
even know
player.
that is.
And please tell me you remember Mats Wilander.
my God.
He wasn't exactly. Maybe he wasn't a household name, but he sure won a heck of a lot of tournaments. And then he got to
how
number
about the
one.
other one? The Super Bowl quarterback.
How about the Super Bowl quarterback with the most rushing yards? That was a good one. Before Cam Newton takes the field.
Who was the quarterback?
Who was the quarterback in Super Bowl history with the most rushing yards in a game? We're gonna close it down. Everybody has to go. You're all gonna
10 seconds.
You're all gonna flunk out if you don't get this one. There's a guess. Kenny Stabler. Kenny Stabler wrong. Kenny Stabler is even a bad guess. No offense, Greg.
Who?
Russell Wilson's not a bad guess at all.
That's not a bad. That's a good guess.
It's a good guess, but it's not right.
5 seconds.
The answer. I'm impatient with all of you. Go ahead. Tell him, Bob.
It was Steve McNair.
Steve McNair. Air McNair.
Air McNair was a runner as well.
Yeah,
and
everybody
he had 64
remembers.
yards. You think Cam Newton can beat that?
I think Cam Newton's probably going to pass 64 yards, but what do I know? But that being the case, we have now wrapped up the third quarter, and the fourth quarter is going to be a lot of fun because we've got a lot of different trivia things that we're going to be throwing out at you. But so stick around with us because you're going to like these. We'll be back with the fourth quarter right after this. Okay, we're back with the fourth quarter shots from the bench here at Margarita Republic. Margarita Republic with the Food Fellowship and Fun is always seated first. And before we get into a couple rants and other discussions, Bob, how about a couple more little trivia questions for the guys? And at least should be able to get these because these are old-time football ones. Not even old-time, but they're pretty good. We're going to be talking about logos on helmets. And I want to know, what is the only team in the NFL now to not have anything on their helmets and keep them clean? And I want to know who was the first team to have a logo on their helmet, and it happened while they were still leather. The Browns. I guess everybody knew that one. That's too many Clevelanders there. Okay, that was the end of that one. Okay, let's see. This is, I don't want to call this common sense because it's not, but if you think back to the old football pictures, there was one logo you could always see on the old leather helmets. And this was the first logo to ever be on a football helmet. So we'll let you think a little bit about that. I think this guy got it right. Rams is exactly right. Holy mackerel, you're too smart for this room. Get out of here. Go to another place. We need somebody who doesn't get them right. We do a lot better when that happens, Bob. I don't know. I said, let's run him out. But those are a couple trivia questions that he shot right by me. So what do you got? You got anything exciting? Let's talk about Johnny Manziel. Isn't he doing a great job managing his career? You know, this is what you like. You get a couple $1 million, and all you get is just keep your nose clean. You can have it for the next 12 years. This guy is going to make it so he's poor and on the streets when he's 25 if he doesn't get straightened out. Well, I don't know. What's your view on that, partner?
Well, you know, he needs to stay out of the news. He should just stay home.
That's right, yeah.
But apparently the police were called to his girlfriend's apartment, and there was an altercation between him and his girlfriend.
Don't want to cast aspersions because
he wasn't arrested, but they're investigating. It was a possible assault. So, hey, Johnny Manziel, what are you going to do?
Well, I think we were talking also. I mean, if his problems are strictly alcohol or substance abuse related, somebody's got to take him aside and straighten him out because he's just not getting it done. I mean, he should be in the driver's seat, and he's just making a mess of his career, and I hate to see it.
I mean, it seems like it's every week he's got something going on.
I know, it's
crazy.
And if he thinks that everybody's going to go away, he's prime. People are going to be sitting around with cameras if they know he's around, just waiting for him to have a faux pas. But I just find that particularly depressing.
So are you going to watch the big game tonight?
The big game.
Big game tonight.
The Pro Bowl, or the hockey game.
That's the big game. That's the big game, the Pro Bowl.
Oh, the Pro Bowl.
I know that's one of your favorite
Everybody,
subjects.
I love the Pro Bowl. Where a bunch of guys.
I love the former Pro Bowl.
After the 5 guys who should be in the Pro Bowl all turned down the game because they got hurt or they don't want to make the trip to Hawaii.
Which team you picking, by the way?
I don't even know who's
playing. Are you going to pick Team Michael Irvin or Team Jerry Rice? Which one's
I'll take
put you on the spot.
Jerry Rice.
Jerry Rice?
Well, I don't know.
I'm going to go with Irvin.
Which one's the AFC guys? Well, that's right. They split them up now. It doesn't make a difference.
The reason we're saying this is because it's a complete joke, right?
Yeah, you got guys that are going to be playing against their own teammates. The way they've shuffled the cards.
I mean, like you got 2 or 3 Vikings playing against Adrian Peterson. They're going to want to tackle him.
A Steeler tackling a Steeler. I mean,
it
just doesn't make any sense.
It's a whole joke.
They're going to give it a shot. And
another thing about this, we talked about this off air. When you look at Hall of Famers' accomplishments, right? How many
Pro Bowls did they make?
How many Pro Bowls did you go to?
Yeah.
Now you're going to say,
who cares?
Who cares?
It doesn't make
how
any
many
difference.
Pro Bowls you went to? This is a complete joke.
If the third string running back from Tennessee can get in because everybody turned it down.
What's the NFL thinking? I mean, a lot of these players don't want to play in it because they don't want to get hurt.
That's right.
But that's not the only reason they don't want to play in it. It's a joke. It used to mean something. Between the AFC and the NFC. I don't know if they're trying to get rid of the AFC and the NFC and make it one league, one conference or something.
Well, I think they're just making so much money now
ridiculous.
that if I'm making $5 million a year and you're going to say, hey, we'll give you $200,000 to go to Hawaii to play in a Pro Bowl, I'd say, I don't see how I'm going to do it.
They used to be mandatory. You got to make guys mandatory for them to go there or make it worth their while, like you said.
But even still, if you're making $5 million a year as a running back, do you really want to go and blow the next year out because your buddy pushed you while you were going out of bounds and you ripped something? I can understand it.
I don't understand the NFL's thought pattern in this.
There isn't. I guarantee there isn't.
How is this supposed to be more impressive for the fans to watch? Can't I see my player play for the NFC against the AFC? That's what you want to see.
That's what you want to see.
Because you're going to see your best receiver playing against that receiver from the other teams, not against the same players.
I agree.
Not against your same team.
I guess they figure it's different. But not only that, but even we were talking about, speaking of all-star games, the hockey now is going to be a 3-on-3 shootout. I guess it's going to be 20-19 now. All of these games now, they're doing everything they can to jazz them up to try to get interest because the game itself, the all-star game itself, because it's so watered down, nobody's watching it anyhow.
Well, they're going to do the NHL All-Star game is going to be, I believe, 2 Eastern Conference teams of 3 players.
Yeah.
Play
3 players.
Play each other or whatever. And then the Western
wide
Conference.
Open ice. So flying all over the place.
One Eastern Conference team of 3 is going to play one Eastern Conference or Western Conference team of 3, and the winner goes to they have the semis and the finals, and it's ridiculous.
God forbid you check somebody. Boy, if somebody checks somebody in that game.
Oh, it's going to change the way the game's played. I can't imagine it's going to be the same type of game. It's just rush right down and score. That's
what they want. I guess they think everybody's dumb enough. They think the only thing that's exciting about hockey is if you see a goal go in. And actually, I find the defense, the ability to skate, and the ability to play defense to be pretty cool too.
Maybe out of curiosity we'll watch because I've never seen anything like it before, so I'll watch it out of curiosity.
All right.
So their first year ratings might be good, but after that, or maybe the first 10 minutes of the first year might be good.
Well, that's my rant on that. But I brought this up to you off camera, and I want to throw this out to the gang too. FSU has just announced that they, at their college basketball games, will now serve beer. And I'm thinking, what a big hand from our producer, I think, which is sad in a way. But think about this: college basketball game, you're going to actually have people getting lit up, and you know that's what's going to happen. If they're selling beer, you got some people. It's going to be like football. Hey, 5 beers, and pretty much they're yelling at the refs or yelling at the players, and it's a confined environment. So, what do you think? I mean, I think that's just. I mean, it's a free country, and I understand that, but I just think it's a bad policy decision that they made.
Well, I didn't know that they didn't sell beer for the first place.
Apparently the only team that does it nationally was South Florida.
But I think it's a bad idea. I do. I think it's a bad idea. Because a lot of kids aren't of the drinking age anyway. So,
who's going to be carding people at a basketball game?
It's ridiculous.
Plus, you have to pass this. Well, I guess they could have
it's
it
bad.
out.
When you go to a pro sporting event nowadays in person, you're taking your life in your hands sometimes because of all the type of people around you.
And now
you go in there with your little boy or little girl or your wife.
That's what I'm saying.
And now you got people swearing around you, throwing
stuff. And that's
stuff.
what's going to happen. Yes.
NFL games are the worst, of course, but the NBA is getting bad now too. Baseball.
Anywhere they serve beer in there, and I guess it's a free country, and I'm all for beer drinking because I like to drink beer. But the fact of the matter is, if it becomes abusive, and you're right, people don't care if they've had a few beers and somebody's got their grandkid with them two rows down. They're going to scream and yell what they want, and under the guise that's their right and their privilege, and I guess it is. But
I think some of the stadiums actually have limits. I don't know how you police something like that. A limit on how many beers you can drink.
Well, I hope.
Game. I don't know how you police it.
I don't know how you're going to do it and how you're going to police it, but
Well, I remember you after 1,000 people or 2,000 people come up to the but I don't know. Maybe they get beer tickets. You can buy certain tickets.
But that just kind of got my goat a little bit when I saw that in the paper. I said, really, do we college basketball game? Do we really need to have beer in that too? But hey, it's not. I'm all for drinking beer. So don't kick me out, Margarita Republic. Go beer. But I just think in a college basketball game, it's a mistake. My personal opinion too. Okay.
Speaking of college basketball,
yes, sir.
Real quick here, just real quick.
Yeah.
We've got the updated. Well, here it is Sunday. The new rankings don't come out till Monday.
What, tomorrow? Yeah.
So it's hard. We're still going on last week's rankings. That's all I got to go by.
That's all right.
But the number one team in the country is Oklahoma, followed by North Carolina, Iowa, Kansas, and Texas A&M. These are your top 5.
Pretty good list.
Notable misses, missing from this list.
Duke.
Are Duke at number 24.
I didn't even know they were still in the top 25.
Kentucky number 20, and they're dropping because they just lost last night. When we get to that game.
I think I just noticed they lost. They're losing today too.
Louisville, always one of the top contenders, number 16. Okay. Last night's game was a really good game. Was number 4 Kansas against number 20 Kentucky. And it went into overtime.
Oh, wow.
76, and it was won by Kansas 90-84.
Wow,
So that was a very good game to watch, but it also, I don't know if that game's going to hurt Kentucky as much, playing that they're playing number 4. But, a game I want to see locally here is, and it's not necessarily the best teams in the country, but I want to see UConn. They're playing at UCF here in Orlando.
Wow.
This afternoon.
That's going to be worth
the reason I want to see it, because I'm a UConn guy, but I also want to see Taco Fall, the freshman from
Taco Fall.
He's 7'6", plays for UCF, leads the nation in block shots. Okay, not surprisingly.
Yeah, I was going to say.
No.
7'6".
He went to the same school as my daughter.
Oh.
And she played basketball
for
that
there?
girls' team.
Oh, wow.
And so a few years ago at Liberty Christian Academy
in
in Tavares.
Yeah.
So hats off to them. And so I want to watch that, see how he's going to do against UConn this afternoon.
Well, that's a good game to keep an eye on. Another good one, I see that Pitt's coming down to play Miami and Florida. And Miami and Florida, I think, has run into a couple really, really tough games, and they had a couple tough losses. So I think Pitt's going to have to be on their toes, because I think Miami and Florida's chomping at the bit to get to them.
Yeah, Miami, they're just out of the top 10. Miami. Yeah,
They're still in the top 20.
They're in the top 25.
Yeah, well, you know what? Those leagues are so balanced, especially the ACC. You're going to lose 7-8 games.
There's no real powerhouse this year.
Well,
in
they're
college
they're all
basketball.
good, but they're all capable of beating each other. You're right. I mean, is there one team that everybody's kowtowing to? I don't think so. But
I mean, sometimes we see in certain years, we have Duke or Kentucky, like last year. I mean, they're just like top all the way through, and look like hardly anybody can beat them. They got the best team. There's no team like that this year.
No, well, the grind of playing a great team day in and day out away. I just saw that Kentucky lost, and I can't remember who they lost to. But whoever they played, they just lost another game. I just saw them on the sheet, or on the big screen up there. But that, to me, college basketball is. These guys just beat each other up and try to win home and away. And hey, if you win more games than you lose in your conference, and you win 20 games, you're probably getting an NCAA
the regular
bid.
season. It's all about the NCAA tournament in March Madness. You want to get yourself the highest seed you can get, and just make the tournament and make your run from there.
That's all it is. So
because it's a crapshoot.
Yeah. And speaking of crapshoot, we got to shoot. We're gonna hit the road because the clock has run out on us. So we want to thank everybody for participating, and we will be back next Sunday at 2:00 here at Margarita Republic in the Spanish Spring section of the Villages for another edition of Shots from the Bench. Thanks for coming, everybody.